Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another one of my vlog reviews. Again, today we're going to be doing World War One. Okay, very big war that has happened in our US history, as well as the world's history. So, general information on the war. Again, started on July 28th, 1914, and it ended on November 11th, on the 11th hour, the 11th month, of the 11th day, in 1918. Too bad it was 1911. Beyond the point. Again, we're going to have about 8 million dead, 8 to about 8.5 million dead. Russia suffering the most. And we're going to have altogether about 22 million people wounded. This was a huge war. And again, it is also referred to as the Great War. Remember, they didn't know there was going to be a sequel later on down the line. Now, the map of Europe itself changed greatly. Check this out. Here's what the map of Europe looked like prior to World War One. After World War One and the Treaty of Versailles, boom. Again, it looks more like modern day today, with the exception, of course, of a couple countries. But nevertheless, here's the main reasons for the start of the war. M-A-I-N. Main. Being militarism, basically building up the military, glorifying the military. Again, alliance system. We're going to have alliances. And altogether, these alliances are going to come and be two gigantic alliances that are going to be to the point where there's so much tension, it will, of course, explode in the powder keg, and we'll get into that. You're going to have imperialism. Normally, countries who aren't next to each other are now going to be next to each other, like we talked about before in the imperialism section. We're going to have everything from, the scramble for Africa, the opening of China. It's one of those deals where these things are going to bring these countries together for even more tension. And, of course, nationalism, the pride in one's country. We're going to have these different countries proud of their heritage, and when they are, they're going to be willing to fight to show it off. Now, speaking on the alliances, we have in 1882, Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Italy formed the Triple Alliance. They were promised to defend each other if they were attacked, and they did. In 1907, we have France, Russia, and Britain formed the Triple Entente. Now, they did not promise to help each other, but together they encircled Germany and Austria-Hungary, which did lead to some tension right there alone, just on their location. Now, we have to get into how all of this happened. How did all these main reasons, again, imagine that as a powder keg, how did that explode? What is the spark that sparked this war? And I'll tell you what, we have to go over the Black Hand before we can talk about that. Now, the Black Hand is basically a terrorist group back then. Their main objective was the creation by any means of violence of a greater Serbia. This leads to what we call Pan-Slavism, where all the Slavic people should be together. That's the belief, that all Slavic people should be together. Pan-Slavism, including Serbia. Now remember, Austria-Hungary took a little bit of Serbia, and because of that, Serbians want an independent country back. Now, its stated aim for the Black Hand, which was again a terrorist group, said that the national ideal, the unification of all Serbs. This organization prefers terrorist action to cultural activities, and it will therefore remain a secret. And it was a secret when it came to a secret terrorist group. Now, here's the spark that lit that fuse. We had one event that started the Great War, happened in the Balkans, or also known as the Powder Keg. And the Archduke Franz Ferdinand from Austria-Hungary was assassinated. He was visiting Serbia on a peace mission. And remember, we acted it out in class. We did the role play. Again, him and his wife Sophia do die when they were doing a peace mission down there. And it was the Black Hand that was responsible. And not just anybody in the Black Hand, it was Gavrilo Princip. He's the assassin of the Archduke. Gavrilo's on the left, the Archduke is on the right with Sophia, his wife. Now, the assassination, again, sparked this entire war. Because, of course, we have now Austria-Hungary and Serbia that are going to be butting heads. And what happens is because of those alliances, Austria-Hungary was allied with Germany. So now Germany got pulled into the war. In fact, Kaiser Wilhelm II, the Emperor of Germany, says he'll be home before the leaves have fallen from the trees. We need a good fight. There was very much nationalism going on, and people were aching to fight. But little did they know what it would actually cause in this new type of war. Now, here we go. Who declared war on who? Well, you have the Serbian Secret Society assassinating the Hungarian Archduke, Franz Ferdinand. So Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. Because of that, Russia, which is an ally of Serbia because they're both Slavic, declares war on Austria-Hungary to restore balance in Europe. Because of that, you have Germany, an ally of Austria-Hungary, declaring war on Russia and Serbia. Because of that, we have France that declares war on Germany to get back at them for an earlier war, the Franco-Prussian War. Then we have Britain that joins the war because Germany violated Belgium's neutrality, and so the whole world is at war, the whole world. And how they actually went ahead and how Germany violated Belgium's neutrality is through what they call the Schlieffen Plan. That's right, the Schlieffen Plan. Because Germany decides that, we have the Argonne Forest that separates France from Germany, and we kind of want to invade France, but we don't want to take the obvious route. Plus, our tanks could get caught up in the Argonne Forest. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through our neighbor Belgium. They think that's a good idea. Belgium's completely neutral, and of course, Belgium says, no, don't go through us, so Germany does it anyway. And when they do, this is what they call the Schlieffen Plan. This is what gets Britain involved. Again, they figured they'd go in, sweep, get Paris, be back before the fall. However, this does not happen. Now, again, just to show you again, the Central versus the Allied powers, also known as AHOG versus FRUG. AHOG being Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Germany, again, more acronyms, which are the Central powers, versus the Allied powers, FRUG, which is France, Russia, US, and Great Britain. Now, we have new things that come out during this, including trench warfare, where we have no man's land, the land between the trenches, where again, if you were to go over the top when you're in trench warfare, you would literally go through this no man's land where nothing could live at all, because it had been shelled by mortar and artillery for so much. We have trench foot, comes from the damp, flooded trenches, as you can see in the picture, disgusting. And of course, we end up with a stalemate, where neither side can make any advancement on each other. And this is what the whole war is about. And see, this is what your normal trench would look like. Again, to give you my awesome drawing I didn't paint. There it is. With sandbags. Again, duck boards. Get your barbed wire in case they did go over the top. Again, went out of their trench and charged. And we have the Battle of Verdun. This is one of the longest, one of the bloodiest engagements of World War I. Now, we're going to get more into the battles of the activity in class, but nevertheless, again, February 1916 to December 1916, we have 2 million men who are engaged in this battle. And again, the intention was the Germans had a battle of attrition, in which they hoped to bleed the French army white, again, to make them surrender. In the end, they sustained just as many casualties almost, with estimated 328,000, and for the French, 348,000. So they almost lost as much. And again, there's the map of the area there. You can't really see it well in this one. But what was a war of attrition that I was talking about before? Wicked easy. It is where both sides try to wear each other down until one is forced to give in. And that's what they try to do. They try to wear them down with the resources and men until they finally gave in. Now you'll notice for the rest of this PowerPoint, there's going to be a lot of propaganda posters. This is one of them right here. What a propaganda poster is something that is put up in order to sway you, whether to be swayed that the enemy is evil or to sway you that you should join the army in this case. And propaganda posters are used on both sides of the war. There are tons of them. They're very popular during this war. But nevertheless, you'll see them on the right-hand side and the left-hand side during this. Okay, so there's your first one right there. Again, kind of looks like Uncle Sam's one, huh? That's going to come up too. Now, how does the U.S. get involved in all this? This was Europe's problem. Well, first, Germany practiced unrestricted submarine warfare. Basically, sunk anything that was helping out a warring country. So the Lusitania, cruise ship from Great Britain to the U.S., gets sunk by a German U-boat, carrying 128 U.S. passengers on board, and of course, this becomes a huge debacle. So we also, after they sink the Sussex, we say, okay, we need the Sussex Pledge, which Germany promises they're not going to sink any more boats without any warning. Now they go back on that, but sink 5 more after like 2 years. Not so cool. Now with this, they said they sank the Lusitania because that there were weapons on board. That was a cruise ship. But they were right, there were weapons on board that we were trying to smuggle to Great Britain to help them out. Again, war of attrition. They were trying to get their resources down so they could just defeat Great Britain easily. We also have the Black Tom explosion, where in New Jersey we have a bunch of Germans, agents, come in and blow up our munitions. This thing was literally rated a 5.5 on the Richter scale. That's how much damage. It did $2 million of damage to the Statue of Liberty alone. Again, press blamed it on an accident until 1924 came out. It was German terrorists trying to get us. And our last thing that brings us into the war is the Zimmermann note. Germany needs another ally in the war, and it finds it in Mexico. Zimmerman tried to get the Mexicans to invade the U.S., to try to get that land that they had lost during the Mexican-American War. Again, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and so on. But it's intercepted by us, the U.S. And so Woodrow Wilson, the president at the time, who literally his campaign motto was he kept us out of the war in 1916. And he does get reelected. However, after the Lusitania and the Zimmerman Note, he does go ahead and ask Congress for a declaration of war on Germany. And we do get it, and the U.S. now enters the war. Again, we're going to, for the most part, get in. We're fresh. We got fresh troops, fresh supplies, fresh food, everything. The Allies, right where that scale was with the Allied and Central Powers, the Allied powers are gaining a lot more now than the Central Powers. And again, here's some more propaganda posters. Like I said, it would want to help out the cause, to sway the public. However, these are good ones. These are ones that are going to show the evil, make the enemy look evil, and they're more evil than they actually are. We also put through the Selective Service Act, requiring men from 21 to 30 to register with local draft boards. We have our first draft. And later it was changed to 18 to 45, but nevertheless, you still have to do it today. Again, one of our propaganda posters. And we have Blackjack Pershing in the war. He literally, Blackjack Pershing, or John J. Pershing, leads the American forces in Europe. And the American soldiers in Europe were referred to as like doughboys or Yanks. We're seen kind of like as reckless, you know? So here's your typical soldier on each side. You have your German on the left. Again, eventually they reshape the helmets to more what they look like in World War II, taking off the horn on the top, if you will, and of course, reshaping the helmet a little bit. You have British and U.S. troops on the side. Again, U.S. troops at first kind of look more like Mounties, but nevertheless they do adopt, much like what the British troops look like, with the dinner plates on their head right in the middle. So they call those things dinner plates. So altogether, here's your approximate amount killed. We have 1.7 million in Russia, 1.6 million in Germany, 1.3 million in France. With the British Empire, that includes India, Australia, Canada, and of course Great Britain at 900,000, 800,000 that are Austrian, 462,000 of Italy. Again, Italy, remember they were on the Central Power side. They do end up going over to the Allied side. And you're going to see that in the activity we do in class. And of course, the 53,000 killed in the U.S. because we got in 1917. And we got in 1917, and we only really served that amount right there for 1 year. Because like I said, the war does end on November 11th, 1918. One of the more famous campaigns that the U.S. does is the Argonne Forest. You can see that in the movie Lost Battalion. And of course, this is going to be a big war. And we are going to lead to, and we're going to see the turmoil after the war. Now, study these terms. We are going to have a quiz on this. And here is the things that you should be studying for the quiz and for the test, okay? All right, and I'm out. Again, study up. If you need any more help, just let me know. Have a great one.